Why are you here? Was it a coincidence? Were you surfing one day and stumbled across the website of TEDxVenlo and thought, TEDx, never heard of that. Let's see what that is. Or were you looking for an excuse? Would you like to get away from something like, for instance, the exams of tomorrow? And you thought, I don't want to sit at home doing all this work. I want to do something else. I need to get away from it. And I see a few of my students sitting there thinking, maybe I shouldn't have made that decision. Or do you have a real reason? What do you hope to take away from this? Do you want to learn something? And what are you going to do to make sure that in the end you have learned what you needed to learn? Good afternoon. My name is Toine Sterk, and I've been teaching in higher professional education for about 30 years. And I found out a few things. One of those things is that learning is a form of growing. And it's a bit weird because we never talk about learning pains where we do talk about growing pains. And I know for a fact that if we really want to learn something that's worthwhile, that's important enough, that we feel uncomfortable, that we need to go through confrontation with ourselves or with our environment. It will cause pain. So, one of the conclusions that I draw is that learning hurts. Now let that sink in for a while. Think about it.
I can see you in the morning when you go to school.
And in the meantime, please meet Sue. Sue is a representative student. She is in a University of Applied Sciences somewhere in the Netherlands, and she chose a business education because her parents told her, find something that is worthwhile, that's important. And she thought, why not do business? Because jobs in the future, there's something there as well. And Sue is a bit of a perfectionist. She always wants to get out of it what she wants to get, what she can get out of it. And the school isn't really helping her. Because although the teachers say we use a system that goes from 1 to 10, the highest grade that Sue can get, she got that once, was a 9. It's almost impossible to get that 10. And one of the teachers even told her, an 8 is for the student, a 9 is for God, and a 10 is for the teacher. There is the other side of it as well. Because Sue is educated for a job in her future. And that future is in business. And the businesses know what's important, and that is not knowledge. Because the knowledge of today is not the knowledge of tomorrow. And she started her education this year. So in 4 years, the knowledge that she learns now will be obsolete. So what is it about? It is about skills. Skills like, for example, being creative, being able to think critically, being able to take initiative, being able to look around and see what the problems are, and then take some steps to tackle those problems. To be innovative. That's really not about knowledge. So, how do you teach someone to take initiative? Think about it. If I want you to learn to take initiative, the moment you start doing this might be because you heard me say that it's important. And then you're doing it because I told you. which is exactly the opposite of what I want. Because initiative comes from your motivation. And I do not know what motivates you, right? How do I know? And sometimes even you don't know. But there is, let's say, a solution to this. And that involves looking at people from a different angle. Because Sue, like all of us, is a gyroscope. And for the ones of you who do not know what a gyroscope is an instrument that is balanced because it is moving. The movement creates the balance. Like the children's toy that we used to play with, and I'm 58 years old, so that's quite a long time ago, the spinning top, or the bicycle that I came on. It's a gyroscope. It is balanced because it's moving. And we are like that. We need to be balanced because in this balance, we can perform on the top of our game. But we tend to forget, especially in education, we tend to forget that that balance is because we need to move. In education, we separate all these different elements, right? We call them marketing, and statistics, and business, and team building, and whatever you want to call them. But in real life, they're not separated. They're building blocks, but they move all the time. If I tell you what the problem is, you won't know whether this is a management problem or a communication problem or a financial problem or, maybe it's a bit of everything. So how do I solve this then? We need to look at education from a completely different perspective. Education is not about answering questions. It is about asking questions. So in my classes, in my trainings, I ask these questions. I confront you with your decisions. Why are you here? And if someone asks me, how should I do this? My first reaction is, I can tell how I do this, but that doesn't do the trick. Because none of you is 58 years old, slightly balding, slightly overweight, teacher in the Netherlands. You do not have my education. You do not have my upbringing. You do not have my background. So I cannot tell you how you do it. So when they ask me, how should I do this? I tell them, yes, please do. And they sit there thinking, what? At a certain moment, this comes across because I want them to start doing things and finding out what works for them, of course. And I don't have your answers, right? I do not have your answers, but I'm quite sure that all of you have your own answers. The only trick is to get you to get to them. So I ask you questions. Because your answers are at least as good as mine. Maybe even better, because simply you are thinking about things the way I never think. And in the process of communication, we get to these new findings, which is what innovation is about, right? But that construction, or what I'm doing, answering questions, confronting you, tickling, kicking you sometimes, that is uncomfortable. And it can be confronting. It can even be nasty. It can hurt. But that is exactly what I want. Because in the process of being out of balance, you create your own balance. The situation is, I am trying to find my balance. And I do that by moving all the time. Asking a question means I move a bit more, so I need to find a new balance. And I do. My own balance, which is necessary. I ask questions. and I confront. There was a situation with a couple of students, 3 students were doing a project. The project went fine. So the client was really very happy. The project scored a 9. On a scale from 1 to 10, that's quite good. A 9. But I didn't know how the process went with 3 students. And I'm responsible for also giving them a grade for their professional attitude, professional development. So I said, you know what we're going to do? I'll give you a 9, but you have to divide it amongst the 3 of you. So that means, if all of you get a 3, you all fail. You can give one person a 9, the others 2 a 0, they have to do it again. And then something happened. In the process of the discussion, they started questioning themselves and each other, and they showed me that they knew what was going on, that they knew that they were looking for a new balance and that they needed to get this across to me as well. And in the end, of course, I gave them all a 9. So, in this situation, where you feel you're uncomfortable, the next time that happens, please welcome the uncomfortable feeling. Feel as uncomfortable as you want, or as uncomfortable as you don't want. But use it as a sign. Maybe this time, this is a situation that I can really learn something from. Thank you.